Hi, I'm Dawn Marie Solais, and I'm an emotional intelligence coach, and I operate under the business name EQSolutions U2.0. And I am here today with Wordsmith, a wonderful musician, rapper, civil activist, and philanthropist. And he has agreed to talk to me today about what he's doing, about what's happening in the world, and how it's impacting him and his circle. And I'm so, so pleased. Thank you so much for being here with me. Um, Wordsmith, could you do us a favor and tell us a little bit about you and what you're doing right now?
Sure. Like you said, Don, I'm definitely a musician. I'm a songwriter, entrepreneur. I'm also a philanthropist currently right now. And also I recently took a position as an artistic partner with the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra. I would say musician wise, I consider myself a motivational musician, political musician, and just somebody that, again, is out there to encourage people to have purpose in their life. And that's something that is a part of me musically, but I think it's built to me as a man. So a lot of the work I do is, I love putting out music, but I love giving others opportunities, and I love working with underserved youth and aspiring musicians.
That's fantastic. I've been watching your career and getting to know you for a little more than 5 years now. And one of the things that has so impressed me about you is your heart. You have traveled to so many different places in the world, and even people who don't understand your lyrics, because you all speak different languages, just are so drawn to you because of the passion you express for a unity of humankind. One of the things that I was really hoping we could talk about today is the work you're doing in your community there in Baltimore. You have recently started a nonprofit. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, definitely. And I appreciate you, asking about it. I always felt like I would open a nonprofit at some point in my life, and I actually opened it up in June when pandemic was still heavy. It's still heavy right now. But some people probably say, why open a nonprofit when we have so many issues going on? Well, to me, that's why you have a nonprofit, is to deal with issues that are going on. So I opened it in June, and we're kind of halfway through the year. And right now we're currently working with another partnership called doTERRA Wellness, and we're funding a program called Music for the Masses, where we're going to try to build a consistent music school in the Baltimore City community, just because there isn't a music program that's a part of the school curriculum. So, and I have kind of both sides of this example. I have my youngest son who goes to school here in the city where we live. My oldest son goes to school in the county. So my youngest son doesn't have music at all as a part of his school day, and his drum kit is set up in our house, and literally my live show drummer comes over to work with him, both masked up, just to get his drum lessons in. Where my oldest son in the county, Baltimore County, they have a recognized music program across the nation. My son plays piano, he plays saxophone, he plays acoustic guitar, and he produces, all because music is a part of his school curriculum. So I'm just trying to force and push the issue to raise this money. We're looking to raise 15,000, and then doTERRA will match that with another 15,000 for a total of 30,000. So we can actually get a building. Yeah, that way we can actually get a building. We can fully equip it with a studio, dance studio, guitars, studio equipment, and just really build it into a music school, drum kits, and more. But really build it into a music school where a lot of the kids in the inner city out here who don't have a boys and girls club to go to or any other music program will have this outlet here, hopefully in the near future.
I grew up with music in my life, with the arts in my life. I grew up middle of nowhere, New York State, and the fact that my arts program was as well funded as it was is a gift. I really can't imagine growing up without the arts in my life. And I had a lot of rough stuff, But I grew up in a relatively stable home. I didn't have some of the challenges that some other people have. I certainly didn't have a complexion challenge, right? The worst I got was I was too white. I grew up where people were, were a little swarthier skinned. They could tan. I just burned, right? So I got hassled. I got picked on, but I did not fear for my safety because of the color of my skin. Having said that, not only have you grown up with the concerns you've had to grow up with, because you were a Black man, you were a Black child. We're now living in this time where it feels like we've returned to the 40s, 50s, and 60s, where people feel emboldened and correct in being violent and being harsh in behavior that I had so naively thought we were growing away from. My horror at my own quietness for a while. I was very active in college, right? I'm more than 50 years old. I was very active in college. I was aware of what was going on, and then I kind of thought, okay, we've sort of hit our space where we can get along now, right? And I was so wrong. I was so painfully wrong. And so now I'm back at it in my own way. But I'd really love to hear from you on a couple of things. One, you started a music nonprofit in the inner city area of Baltimore. There are reasons for that, and I would love to hear the deeper thought space from you on that, because I think people need to relate to what the arts give people, why they are so important, why they are equal to math and science, not secondary. But also, if you would like, we've got some tough stuff going on in the nation. We had people my color attack the nation's capital. And the response to that was shockingly and horrifyingly, to me, different than the pre-response to the peaceful Black Lives Matters protest that happened a couple of months ago. Just the planning of law enforcement. And I am not one who will speak ill of law enforcement as a whole. I think there's a lot of work to be done, and we've got to figure some stuff out. But there are police officers that I know personally who have been working their whole career to fix some of this stuff. So I won't personally speak about law enforcement as though that agency is entirely bad, but I will speak boldly about what's wrong with it, right? What needs to be fixed. Okay, so I want to stop talking, and I want to let you go, and you say everything that you would like to say from your heart, both the importance of the arts, why you started your charity, and where your heart is right now with what's going on in the nation.
Sure. I mean, I'll start just actually where I live. I've had every opportunity to go live in Baltimore County, live anywhere else I want to live, and I choose to stay in the heart of the city. And where I live, there's crime daily, there's drugs daily. I see the same people that stand on the corner that I wish I could save, and help. And that's part of the driving force of wanting to have this nonprofit and do it in my community. When you're in communities that struggle, a lot of people look at it as I have to escape, and it's not always escape. It's when you can achieve, your passion, your success. How can you grab the next person's hand and bring them up, or show them the way, or give them knowledge? And so the best way I can show a good example to my community is to still live in my community, regardless of what's going on. Still live in my community and say, hey, I've been able to be successful. Now I'm working on things that I'm going to bring into my community that will help you be successful, and hopefully cut down some of the struggle I had, but also give you a purpose, give you a focus. So when you get up every day, you have butterflies in your stomach because you're going, man, I can't wait to get with Word that day, or I can't wait to get with the drummer today, or I can't wait to get in dance class today. And you have this inner pull to want to be great at something else besides just getting up and saying, I'm just going to stand outside, hang with the boys and chill. That's cool for a period, but we all know there's an end game with that. So that's my purpose why I'm here. And on a deeper level, for my kids, I want them to see that, I'm not here to quit. I'm not here to turn my back on the Black community. I'm not here to put shame on those that don't have as much as I have now. I once didn't live that well. You know, I went through my struggles on my own to get where I'm at. So I'm not the type of person that once I achieve a certain level of success, I forget. You know, I'm constantly saying, man, you know, I remember getting my first royalty check and it was $5. It was nothing, but I remember I saved it for years just because I
Yeah.
said, man, this was money I earned off of something, my passion, something I love doing. As far as, you know, you mentioned what happened yesterday, and I think that segment's perfectly just from what we were just talking about. One, it's hard to see because I protested, but not just me being a black man protested. I saw a lot of the white community, Asian community, Indian community, I mean, Latino community marching with me. So Black Lives Matter protests, though they're Black lives, a lot of the nation supported it because a lot of the nation has friends that are Black or family members that are Black. You know what I mean? So many families are mixed now. So it's easy to say, you know, hey, I got this and that that's Black. So it's normal to you. So why not support it? And then we saw the big support around the world. We had other countries that don't even
Hmm.
struggle with Black oppression. That is like, y'all wrong, and march for us. So to see in our own country, and people have to understand this, our country was built on slavery and racism. This is fact about our country. We can rewrite it, but we're not rewriting it after what we saw yesterday. What we saw yesterday is that racism is very alive in a way that is terrifying because we saw law enforcement who most of the time they do a great job protecting us. We can't get rid of them because we do need them. There are actual people out here that are bad people that will harm you. So we do need cops. But we all know, just like human nature, every cop is not going to be the best cop. Every cop is not going to be the cop that's going to put his arm around you. Just like in real life, you can't
Right.
hang out and say the wrong thing to everybody because that wrong thing you say to a stranger, he could end your life that day. You don't know what he's going through. You don't know where he's at in his life. Police are the same way a lot of times. You know, yes, some of it is systemic. We don't always know what they discuss, you know, behind closed doors, but actions show us that there's definitely a discussion of when it's a Black male and we get that call, tensions rise. And we have to be more on guard than if it's a white male. This we know. So even this came to a protest situation, which wasn't even a protest because there was nothing to protest because it was clear lies. We all know this.
Right.
So it
Right.
was a clear mob and riot. To not be prepared for that and then to see windows smashed, doors kicked in. And honestly, when it was all said and done, most people got ushered out like it was a field trip. When you see
Right.
pictures, there's people walking in a line like it's a field trip. And I think of not just Black folks, but I think of the white folks, Latino folks that I saw get gassed, that I saw get beat up, that I saw get arrested, hogtied, handcuffed, taken to jail for the night, for 2 days, for 3 days, all because they believe in something that's real. Think about what I'm saying. You're getting beat up, sacrificing yourself over something that's real, which you have to do. But then we saw people who believe in lies walk right into our Capitol building in the middle of a Senate hearing, an important Senate hearing, and literally were able to walk back out. 5 people have got killed to this point. So there's so many underlying deep issues. And I think the thing the Black community wants everybody to see here is our anger stems from this is we've been giving our lives for just getting equal justice since the civil rights era. And even before that, we all know that. But even just going back to the civil rights era, people have lost their lives just to get equal freedom. People lost their lives yesterday for nothing, literally
Yeah.
nothing. There was no fight for any
100%.
type of justice. It was just, we believe in lies. We support who, just being honest here, Trump is a dictator, unfortunately. That is how he chooses to govern. He's a dictator living in our democracy. We live in a democracy, but he is unfortunately a dictator. And so because of that, we have people who have taken to that. And that caused a lot of what we saw yesterday of them walking to Capitol Hill and thinking that we own the place, we're invincible. Because that's what I saw too, is invincibility.
Hmm.
You know, so but I also was able to see it and say, I have white friends. Those weren't the white friends I know. And I know a lot in the Black community can say that too, that you know white friends that will have your back. They understand the Black struggle. But then there's others in the white community, and you have to be honest about it, that they live in this age of racism still, and that we're superior, and that Black folks, indigenous, Latino folks are not up to our level. And so part of what you saw yesterday was their mind frame being that old mind frame is we're taking back what's ours. Because again, that's what this country was built on. And so they're living that old, I would say, form of living of we're taking back what is pretty much stolen from us when it wasn't stolen. This is a nation, as we all know, of many races and cultures. So you have to respect them all. It's just tough to see yesterday because to me, America's always been about progress and moving things forward and setting a great example. We saw other countries commenting on how sad it was to see our democracy being threatened because they look to us.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts and your heart on that. I really appreciate that. And I grow personally every time you and I get to talk. I just am so grateful for our friendship. Do you have any thoughts on how we begin to bring people to peace? Because I have to say, there's nothing in me that agrees with what happened at the Capitol. Not 1 ounce of me thinks that's what should have happened. I was also someone who said I could understand the emotions behind breaking into Target and burning some buildings down and stuff like that, but I struggle because I feel like the message gets lost when the violence happens, right? So I don't like what the people did yesterday. I do believe they thought with every fiber of their being they were right? So if I think I'm right and you think you're right and we are just really, really far apart from each other, how do we start taking steps together? Or do we have to just be like, I can't spend time with that. I'm not going to be able to change those hearts and minds, so I got to focus elsewhere.
I think, there's one phrase that I think about a lot, and a lot of the Black community, and I would think other communities should think about, is no justice, no peace. Just that simple phrase. There's never any justice. How do you move forward with some of these issues when they happen over and over, almost like something being recycled, and there's never any justice? Never. So we're stuck in the stagnation of no justice. And I think coming into this new year, new administration, new president, we're hoping that policies will come into place where people will be held accountable finally. We need to see accountability. Even what happened yesterday, yes, I'm starting to see them hold people accountable, but you had everybody there. They were already there. All you had to do was arrest everybody that was there. They were in a federal building. One person who shouldn't be in a federal building would get arrested on any given day. Let's be real about this. You or I tried to get in there without proper identification or just running up in there, we'd either be shot, taken down, tackled, whatever, because we've seen it. This was a mass amount of people that you saw coming, was scaling the wall. You had everybody that you needed to arrest and hold accountable right there. But this goes back to what I mean is the mind frame of aggression because of the color of skin. And to go further, they even said there was cops there taking pictures with some of these people that were coming into the building. You know what I mean? So that blows your mind, and it tells you again, who do you trust? Who do you trust when the people who should protect you, a lot of them do, but you have these other kind of rogue cops that are almost working within the police system. And that was kind of showed to me yesterday too, that there's a higher force here, pulling at that enforcement side as well, that they knew this was coming and chose. There was a conscious choice to not be totally prepared. This is my opinion off of what I saw, but I feel there was a conscious choice to not overreact to this because it wasn't a Black protest. So it's hard to move forward when there's no justice. We need to see those who came out, and we need to see even the president. I don't care if you got to go back and get him for a pack of gum he stole back in the 80s. He has to be held accountable for something. You know, and it's not me. I never say hate. You should never hate anybody. What I'm saying for him is he has lived a life of never being held accountable for anything, which has played into who he has become. Even at this age in life, still not knowing life lessons that you and I learned as kids or as teenagers. He's a 70-year-old man who doesn't know some of these things still, making mistakes that you would see a teenager make and go, come on, you knew better. And you see a grown man make these mistakes. And so that's because he's not been held accountable. So they have to hold him accountable for this, because I don't feel if they do, after the clear injustice yesterday and the lack of enforcement, you're going to continue to see an outcry from the Black community. You're going to continue to see an outcry from other minority communities because, again, the phrase is going to pop up. There's no justice, then we're not going to give you no peace. And I know that's why I stand with it as well. No peace doesn't mean I'm not going to go out and beat somebody up or shoot somebody, but no peace is saying I'm not just going to lay down my, you know, what I believe in and go home and lay on the couch and say, oh, I hope things get better. No, I'm going to be forcing the issue until it changes.
Yeah, and your music is such an amazing opportunity for that. You've done a couple of things with the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra recently. I loved them both. You did a cooperative piece where you mixed rap and your message in with some of the symphony members playing Ode to Joy from Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. And then you did 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, and you did that with such a sick beat and a powerful message in a Christmas Christmas special that the symphony did. These are opportunities for you to participate with a community where not only has outside of the Asian community have people of color been warmly welcomed, right? Classical music has been thought to be for the white and, you know, in recent years for the Asian, but not for the Black, not for the brown, not for indigenous communities, right? There's this hard line in the sand. I've listened to you speak publicly about how, you know, that symphony building is right there in your community, but its community members do not feel welcome in the door, right? The building's right there, but it is not a welcoming space for the people who live next door.
Yeah.
You're working to change that. And to the credit of the folks who are running the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra, they are working to change that. What's coming up for you? You've got a 2-year wonderful arrangement with them where you're going to be working hand in hand to bring a variety of music in, bring a variety of people in. What's coming up next for you?
Well, right now I'm working on several things. They definitely got me on the ground running, which I preferred and liked, because even signing on with the BSO, you know, I was upfront with them that, you know, I was going to hold them accountable, and I didn't want just a position and a title. You know, I said real change has to happen. I need to see action take place. And again, you know, it goes back to they knew the type of person I was. You know, I'm very motivated and driven to make things happen. So I was like, you guys have to be sure that, you know, you're not just bringing me on for my musical talent, but the type of man I am and the person I am and my beliefs. You have to be comfortable that, you know, I'm going to be outspoken at times. And they were, you know, and the thing that I love about the BSO is, yes, most classical music has been for the white community, but they have really went out of their way in just prior years to try to extend the hand. You know, I think just right now, we're in this age of heightened awareness where I think the timing was right, because besides myself, they brought on a Black assistant conductor. And just overall in their history, there's only been 3 African Americans. So the new assistant conductor and myself, we're second and third, you know, so I have that in my mind at
Wow.
all times. Yeah, I have that in my mind at all times. And though I'm not an instrumentalist, and though I'm coming in a role as a songwriter and doing reinterpretations and doing diversity-driven programs, to still for them to be bold and say, we see your value, we see your connection to the community, and we see the fact that we know you're a driven person for change. These are all the things that we want to get done, but don't, being transparent, can't quite do, or don't know always how to do because we are the white community, and to have that honesty, I want to hear that because as much as you want to, might want to celebrate Black culture at different times or say, hey, this is important to do without that true Black presence there and that true perspective from a Black man or a Black woman, sometimes you're shooting in the dark, to be honest, and hoping
Right.
this will this connect with the Black community where you bring someone like myself in, I can be honest and transparent and say, I don't know how that's going to come off for the Black community. I don't know how I don't know how I feel about this, so maybe we steer this in another direction. One thing I've been grateful for is, like you said, I've done 2 recent projects just since I've came on, and I've done a couple projects with them prior, which led to me, signing this 2-year contract. One big piece I'm doing with them is called Soldier's Tale, and it's a very well-known piece by a musician called Stravinsky. And this tale, it's more of a play, to be honest, with the orchestral accompaniment. And it's about an hour-long play. It's a one-man play. Sometimes it consists of 3 people, but you have to play 3 different characters. And one of the first things they brought to me was, they said, would you be interested in retelling this? And yeah, and not only am I retelling it, I'm retelling it from a Black soldier's perspective, because it's never been told from that perspective. And I chose to tell it from a Black soldier during the Vietnam era, which was during the civil rights movement. And
I got
so
chills and tears in my eyes. That is so exciting.
it will be, I can tell you hands down, I've got to do a lot of great and blessed projects in my career, be one of the biggest, if not the biggest project of my life. Just because, one, the musical elements, it's a full-blown play, one-man play where I have to play 3 different people. So besides rewriting this whole, I would say, play, telling it from a Black perspective, but immersing myself in it to where I can become these characters and then present it, to the audience. So when they brought it up to me and they said, well, when do you think you can have it done? I said, this is probably a year away at best, because I said, once the writing phase is done, in my background, my major is in theater. So when they brought this up to me, I was like, oh yeah, this is okay. You guys are trying to really move for change here. But I looked at it as, honestly, God sent in some ways. I said, man, I know what I can accomplish with this piece, not just for myself, but for the community, in telling this story. And then them telling me too that Stravinsky never really loved the narration. I mean, not the narration, the play that went with his orchestral movement. So I have that challenge as well, to do it better than anybody ever has. So I'm working on that. I'm working on a Frederick Douglass piece with a Black composer in Baltimore named James Lee. And that's going to be commissioned to be done in 2022. And they're looking to commission that piece to where it will not only be played by the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra, but it'll be commissioned to be played by other orchestras around the United States and hopefully worldwide as well. And that's what you want, because that's how you affect change within classical music, when they're playing Black pieces that are written by a Black songwriter and a Black composer. So that's going on behind the scenes as well. We have Beethoven 9, Ode to Joy, pretty much the full piece. And in that, I totally rewrote Ode to Joy and updated into what's going on in current society today, and also added some spoken word pieces to it. And there's going to be a lot of great surprises in there. And that'll be coming in 2022 as well. Another thing I'm working on is I'm working a lot with the educational department. And so I recently did Carnival of the Animals with them, which was actually my first piece I did with the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra. And then with the kids this time, I got to redo it and really redo it from a really funny perspective and just kind of have fun with it, especially during COVID times. So I shot all my narration in my house and just tried to be as inventive as possible, playing the lion and an elephant and the rooster and all these different things. So I've been working with them, and the project I'm working on right now is they do these midweek concerts that are really, really great, where they go through pretty much the different instrument groups like brass, winds, percussion. And so I'm taking part in the percussion side of things. And in the percussion side, they actually teach it and show you the different percussion instruments and really, I would say dig deep. They really try to give it to kids where kids who don't have any music and training can sit down and watch this and learn, okay, this is a percussion instrument. These are the different percussion instruments. Then you get to see the orchestra play it. So you get this teaching aspect, and then you get to see this world-class orchestra play it. The addition with this is the last piece that they're doing. I'll be taking part in, and it's called What Is Good, and it's basically a true story, a spoken word piece that I wrote with their principal percussionist that just tells my story of being racially profiled and how I went from being this angry black man that, you know, got a woke up, man, we're in a racist country, to saying, all right, I can either be angry forever, or how can I affect change? How can I use knowledge that I attain and help the next person not go through what I went to, or say, hey, this is what we need to do to push things forward. So it's a piece that the percussionist wrote back in 2000 when he had lost a son. And so it was a really deep piece. And so we wanted to revive it, and we saw the parallels of losing something. In my case, losing justice, losing this, I want to say, this invincibility you think you have when you racially get profiled and you go, oh, I'm not like everybody else. You lose something, you know, as a person, as a human being. So telling that story, delivering it to the kids, because this is going to be going to kids in the schools that are 3rd to 6th grade. These are the kids that need to hear this message, so they understand what racism is early, so they understand that, hey, this goes on in our country. I want to be a part of the solution. I don't want to be on the side that doesn't understand or believes a lot of the lies that are floating around, that, oh, you know, oppression isn't real, racism isn't real. It's very real.
Yeah. That's all just really, you know, for me and my my little music nerd self, that's all just like so exciting to me. I can't wait to see all of that come to fruition. You know, I think we probably have to wrap up now. We're gonna get this out on social media and include links for your performances at the BSO if you've got them, and your link to your charity so people can help support that. But in closing, is there anything that you'd kind of like to just put out there? Like, what's your call to the people who are listening right now? You know, we've talked about music, we've talked about racism, we've talked about politics. What's something you just really like people to take away and think about and nurture in their hearts?
I would say to be yourself. You know, we live in a society where it's easy to follow others or believe everything that you see on the internet, or even believe everything that comes out of people's mouths. I think we have these beautiful minds and we don't always use them, you know, and so though someone could give you information, I think we're in this day and age where you always have to question information and do your own research, you know. And other than that, especially the youth, I encourage you that just be yourself. Wear the things you want to wear, dress the way you want to dress. Just be yourself. That's what's most important in this lifetime. Be yourself, be comfortable in who you are, because you don't understand, you just being yourself will inspire the next person that, you know, might be saying to yourself, oh, I don't know if I want to turn my hair purple. I don't know if I want to, you know, wear this shirt, or I don't know if I want to, you know, come out and say that, you know, that I like girls or I like guys. You know, you should be in this age where it's better to speak up more than anything. You know, we went through that age where people are, well, let me stay in the closet, if you remember, was the term. I hated that term, you know what I mean? And now I just love that people can be open, whether you agree with it or not. You know what I mean? I love that people can be open, live their own lives, be themselves. And that's what I always will encourage, because I know that's how I live my life. I'm myself. You either rock with me or you don't. I love you either way. You know, you got to have haters and you got to have those that love you as well. They work hand in hand.
Thank you so much for your time and for all of your thoughts and for the amazing work that you are doing. You are absolutely inspiring to me. I am so grateful for your presence in my life. And hey, let's get together and do this again. You know, you've got work going on. I want to be hearing more about it. And always know that I'm here for you and doing anything I can for you. Okay.
Thank you, Don. I appreciate you so
Alrighty.
much.
You as well. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
All right.